Hi everyone, AJ Beard here. We're out at Lone Oak Farm in Smithville, Texas, working on learning more about bees. We brought Farmer Brown and Co. out today to teach us about the hive that we had installed here in May and to get them a little bit more room so they can make us a ton of delicious honey.
So, welcome to everyone's first beekeeping class. It's an honor to be y'all's teacher today. My name is Henry Brown Jr., and I am the owner of Farmer Brown & Co., where we do bee removals, live bee removals every day. We sell honey. We have cream honey, raw honey. We pollinate. We do queen bees, which we'll see in a later time. And then basically anything with the honeybee, we do. Teachers, classes, one-on-ones, the whole nine. And so this is my lovely wife right here, my counterpart, the other half of the business, and my son, who I hope he will take over. Yes, and so how about we just get started, get into what everyone's waiting to hear about. So the first thing I want to go over is the safety. Whenever you're working with bees, safety is going to be the number one priority, because it doesn't matter what you see on the internet, people working suitless. You may have known people working suitless, but one thing that I know about bees working with this day in and day out, one day they're a Sour Patch Kid. They'll be sweet one day, and the next day just let it be cloudy one day, and that quickly went out the window. So suits, gloves, bad safety, the whole nine, I definitely recommend doing that every single time that you're in the bees. Now, the next point that I always want to recommend before we get into it is that this is a relationship. It's not, okay, I'm just having bees to get honey, or just what they can do for you. Is an actual relationship. I know that sounds funny because we're human and they're insects, but trust me, it's a relationship. And so every time that I go back to that colony, it's the same reaction every time, because they'll actually recognize it. You have to respect the bees. You have to respect God's creation in general. It's just a mutual respect. If you are gentle on them, they're going to do 10 times more for you, I promise. And so the next thing I want to point out, that beekeeping is continuous learning. You will never learn. Even though that I'm here teaching you, the next year the whole dynamic can change. And so every time that you go in, I always encourage people to find one thing that you didn't know. You just try to find where their pollen source is. Try to find out where the nectar is, because they may get pollen from these sunflowers, but they don't produce nectar. So just try to learn where they are, and then whenever you find out what they're going to, just nurture that. And so some of the essential beekeeping equipment I'll run through. We have the bee suit. I'm going to show y'all two different types. This bee suit right here is a standard beekeeping suit. Now, I personally call this the beekeeping suit from hell. And let me explain why I say that. If you are in Texas, which we all know it's 95 plus degrees. Whenever you start to sweat in this suit, it's as if you just went in the bee colony suitless, because this is going to be sweated out, this is going to be sweated out, and all of this becomes one layer to the bee sting.
Is it a good start? Yes. My first year, I did have this kind of suit, and I quickly learned that once we get a little bit more money, I would like to get a better suit.
Yes, definitely upgrade. And now for this suit, this is going to be your best friend right here. The key differences between this suit and this suit. Well, can anybody tell the difference right off the bat?
Ventilation.
Exactly. And so not only do you have more ventilation in this suit because of the mesh, you're going to have 3 layers of protection. It has the mesh layer on the inside, and then it's it has a spongy material that actually creates the thickness that you need for the sting to not penetrate the suit. And so whenever we're in this heat, hydration and protection is going to be your best friend. I always tell people, if you're going to invest into this hobby, do it right the first time. You don't want to go through the hard lessons, I promise. You just go ahead and get the right equipment, and your body's going to thank you, and bees are too. Because if you're not stressed, bees are not going to be stressed, because you're going to be pumped. And then the second thing, that we have 2 different kinds of gloves here. We have the standard beekeeping gloves. I'm going to tell you all the pros and cons. And then we have a thicker material gloves. Now, these gloves right here are made out of sheepskin. So whenever you're working with the bees and let's say you're moving too fast or you bump them hard, the stinger is going to go through the glove, and it's not, well, depending on how sweaty your hands are, it may or may not go through the glove. I've had it go through the glove before. Whenever you put your hand in the glove, this part of your wrist right here where your watch goes is the part that's going to be exposed. It's going to meet your suit, and this is where it basically matters. I've seen some gloves where it's one layer of mesh, and for example, our helper, his name is Kenny, he always have swollen wrists because he's opted in to get the breathability gloves. I told him don't do it, and now his hand's looking like a Mickey Mouse glove right now. So I always recommend getting this thick layer of leather right here, and they also have a 3-layer, like the ventilated suit, pair of gloves, and that's the best option. That's what I use on the day-to-day. And then you have the veil. I want y'all to note on the veil, on the 3-layer suits, they typically come with the best kind of veil. This veil right here, whenever you put it on, what you'll notice is that it's always going to be touching your nose and your mouth. Now, I'm pretty sure everyone here can tell me how that's going to go whenever the bees get on your veil and it's touching your nose and your mouth. I know you may not be looking so handsome or so beautiful at the end of that inspection when your nose is this big. So I want you to note the layers and the flexibility versus this one and this one. This one is flimsy. It's going to easily get you compromised. That's my favorite word to say. You're going to get compromised. And so you can see the sturdiness in this, and it's also whenever you put a ball cap under your hat veil, I recommend those for the ones that don't have that fastener right there to always wear a ball cap, because that brim of your hat is going to keep that veil off your nose and mouth.
I can say that's where my first thing happened. I thought I was protected and suited up, but I didn't have a ball cap on under my veil. So anytime I leaned to inspect or got close to the bee, that veil was right against my face, and my first thing was here in my nose.
So it's just different style, different strokes for different folks. It's whatever you can work the best in. What works for me may not work for you, but I just want to give you the pros and cons of the different styles. What I would say is the best option is this one right here, simply because it'll stay away from your face and it's sturdy. And then it doesn't usually rip around the edges. And then we have the smoker. I kind of touched on earlier. Whenever you're lighting your smoker, what I spend the most time in the field doing is not checking bees, surprisingly. It's actually lighting my smoker. And so it's an easy way and it's a hard way. Lighting it at the top, how y'all see me doing it, that's the hard way. But if you have one of those butane torches, the way that everyone likes to light their smoker, you put the torch not on the inside because it makes the ember and the hot coals that come out whenever you do this, that's going to fall on the bees, and you could catch it. If you got bees in the tree, you catch the whole tree on fire, or you catch your hive on fire. But what I recommend, getting your torch and burning it on the outside right here, put your grass material or your easy burn material, and when you want it to get red hot, and then once you get it red hot right there, start smoking, and you don't have to, and put your cottonseed or your wood in, and you don't have to worry about that. And so you're gonna find whenever you're doing it yourself, that's the easy way. Now, you have your beaver. What this is right here is whenever, let's say you have to get a closer look at your brood frames, or you're extracting honey, you're pulling your honey out. This right here is simply to brush the bees. This doesn't hurt, it's real gentle. You brush the bees off of the frames, and then if you have a container, brush them off, put the honey in the frame. In your separate container. And that way, whenever you're unsuited, getting your honey processed, you don't have to worry about the bees being in your house.
But there is actually benefit in using that brush because you can get those bees off of your frame. It helps.
Yes. And so the most important tool of our job is the smoker and this right here. Does anybody know what this is? Okay, those are all good guesses. So this is what's called a hive tool. Pretty simple. And the purpose of this is whenever we're about to see, the bees create a natural glue, and that's called propolis. Can everybody say propolis?
Propolis.
Propolis. So what propolis is tree sap. They mix it with saliva. They use that tree sap to basically insulate. It's antimicrobial. It's basically the sanitation, what keeps everything in place where the bees don't have to worry about the diseases. And because they do that, you have to use a hive tool most times to pull your frames up, separate them. You can it's a multi-tool. This is for spacing. This is to separate or scrape. And this is for nails. And so there's more advanced hive tools. For example, there's one called a J hook where it has the J, and then you would use it. It kind of looks like this, but it's more of a hook. And then whenever you're using your frames, you get up under it and you can lift it up just like that. And I would recommend to everyone to start with the J hook for simplicity. But this one works just as fine. So I'm gonna quiz y'all. What is this?
Bee suit.
Bee suit. Which one of these veils would you want to use?
One on your left.
What are the key differences between this veil and this veil?
One rips and one doesn't.
I mean, it's pretty simple, right? It's pretty simple. That's what I'm saying. This is not a complex situation. It's not rocket science. Hey, you just need carbohydrate, protein, a good bee suit, and some smoke.
And some bees.
And some bees.
One question, you said that you give your hives a 1 month brood break, and
Yes.
then you said because you don't use chemicals.
Yes.
So what in the brood break and what is the point of the brood break and
Okay.
things like that?
But all of the chemicals, their purpose is to reduce the number of Varroa mites. So Varroa mites are the #1 pest for bees all across the world. Basically what a Varroa mite is, imagine if I were a bee, this big box just sitting on you all day. It's like a big old tick. And so the purpose of the brood break, to get back on your question, is to, well, let me step back one more time. The Varroa mite's reproductive cycle happens in the comb whenever it's a larvae state, where it's the worm, basically. And so if you create a brood, meaning baby bee break, then that interrupts the Varroa mite's reproduction cycle. So if the Varroa mite don't have the host to latch onto, the larvae, and you're creating it, making it absent, then all of a sudden your Varroa mite levels are going to go down naturally.
What about the oil?
That's for small hive beetles.
Okay.
Yes.
Is that the one where you see the red dot on their back?
That's Varroa.
Okay.
That's the Varroa. It looks like a brown reddish color.
Right.
And then can you pull up the picture with the iPad and show them? And then she'll show you the differences between a small hive beetle, which is the black bug. Looks like a ladybug, but it's black. Those two that's the second pest. But I'm sure when we open this, we'll see it. What reaction does it trigger in the bees, the smoker?
To
Makes
make them hungry.
Make them sick.
Prepare to leave the hive. Prepare to get
Sucking
food.
More honey.
Honey.
It makes them engorge themselves with honey
Engorge.
because they think that their hive is on fire. Why would we feed our bees?
Because the pollen is low.
We're trying to supplement the
The nectar.
nutrients that the hive needs to survive to the next season of availability and forage.
And what is that time frame?
So that's going to be how I usually base it when it's hot and you're driving on your daily commute and you don't see the blue bonnets in the ditches anymore. Everything's looking burned up. That's the dirt. That's when the bees are going to start the robbing behaviors where they go to other hives and start to take their resources. That's when aggression is going to kick in. And so
Henry, so you're talking about other bees robbing other bees during that period.
yes.
Wasps and stuff that we were talking about earlier, they will come to rob the bees
that's it.
also.
That's
So
whenever that happens as well.
That's-
So if in the lack of the nutrients in the environment, that's when you're going to have many problems with other insects fighting insects. Wasps, small hive beetles, other bees, the robber bees, and yeah, if you have happy hives, happy wives, happy lives. And so they use water for multiple reasons. One, to drink, and then whenever it's really hot and you see the bees at the front of the entrances are real heavily where it looks like a beard. It's called bearding. What they're actually doing is that they'll all face one direction and create a uniform airflow with their wings to bring in the air, and the bees will actually collect water and put water droplets all over the comb. And so that's their form of air conditioning. Before I move to the next session, do you have any questions? now we're going to get what kind of bees are in the hive. Can anybody tell me the 3 castes, meaning the 3 groups of bees?
Honeybee.
That's the overall name of the honeybee.
Okay.
I give y'all one of them that everyone knows, the queen bee.
Okay.
Okay,
Worker
the worker bee.
bee.
And then there's one more that nobody knows.
Drone.
Somebody knew it. So what's the purpose of the drone bees?
What a drone bee is a male bee. Most people have never seen male bees because all the worker bees, which is 80% of the hive, are female. All of them. And the queen bee is obviously a female. And so the drone bees, whenever the springtime comes, the hive, to increase their genetics, their natural reproduction, they'll make drone bees. The drone mates whenever virgin, because at that time, virgin queens are going to be hatching across the board, and all the hives are going to have a swarm tendency. And so the hive will create the virgin queens, and the virgin queens go and fly on their mating flight. And so the drones congregate at the top of the tree, and that's called a drone congregation area. Well, the virgin queens are going to fly through that area, and then the first 15 to 20 drones that can successfully catch up with her, they're going to be able to mate with her, and as soon as they mate, they die. Honey Nut Cheerios. So
What's the point of them? First of all, is that a swarm? Is that what we would call a swarm?
that's just a mating flight. A swarm, the difference between the congregation and the swarm, that's basically all the males, the late night spot. All the males get together, chatting it up until that woman comes in that's beautiful. Everyone gonna chase her. And so that whole thing is a reproduction for the queen to become fertile and lay her 1,500 to 2,000 eggs per day. And so once she goes into her mating flight, she only leaves the hive one time for that purpose. She comes back mated, and she'll never leave again. And that's the whole purpose. So once they mate, they die. That's the only purpose of a drone that we know of right now. And then in the wintertime, whenever the resources are getting low, the drones all get kicked out of the hive, and they cannot come back. And so they treat the males real bad, unfortunately. And then we have the queen bee. She's the only fertile female in the hive.
Wait, let me ask this. Worker bees can only make drone bees.
Yes.
I thought the queens make drone bees at the end of her life cycle.
No.
Thanks for that clarification.
No problem. So the queen can produce worker bees and drones
Okay.
throughout her whole life. In the springtime, she lays drone eggs to pass on the genetics. But if you have nothing but drones, that's a worker bee laying drones. That pretty clear to everybody? I see you have
I do, but I don't want to derail you, but I do have a question about where did the queen bees come from then? And how did they become queens?
Yes. So if they can't regulate their airflow, they'll go into swarm mode for the natural reproduction cycle because they are going to keep expanding. And they'll put that 3-day-old egg. And they know when it's 3 days old, and they'll start to secrete what's called royal jelly. Have you ever heard of royal jelly? They'll secrete that from their heads, and they'll make a large amount of royal jelly. And then once that cell kind of gets swollen with that royal jelly, with that larvae at the bottom, that larvae eats that royal jelly in large quantities, and she starts to develop as a queen bee. Simply because of the royal jelly. And that's the difference between a worker bee and a queen bee, is the amount of royal jelly they get. And then you have the worker bee, which is a sterile female bee. She performs various tasks, such as, depending on the age, you can have forager bees, where you see they gather the nectar pollen. You have the nurse bees, which is the worker bee. That's whenever they first hatch, they'll start to tend to the other baby bees and secrete that royal jelly. And then you have the hive maintenance, such as the undertaker bees, the propolis bees that seal up all the cracks. That's going to be in the midlife. The forager bees that's the oldest bees, and that's whenever they go out, because if they perish, they don't have to come back to the hive. Do we have any questions?
Propolis. Is propolis the wax?
Propolis, so wax is secreted from the underneath of the bees from the wax gland. Now, propolis, that's where, just how they will have nectar on their back legs. Have you ever seen that? The pollen basket? They'll put tree sap on that back leg, which is called a pollen basket, and that's tree resin. And they use that to sterilize the hive because they mix it with saliva and chew it down, and they use that as glue to glue their stuff in place. For example, in the wintertime when mice can get into your hive, they'll encase the whole mouse instead of taking it out in propolis and sterilize it. And so wax and propolis, one is made from their bodies and one is made from trees. And they like pine the most because you ever had pine sap? It's so sticky. That's what they use mostly in these areas. So next, hive location. Choosing the right spot. You want the morning sun to warm up the hive in the morning because basically that's their alarm clock to start. If you put your beehive facing southeast to east, they're going to get that morning sun. It's going to wake them up, and that way they know to get their start. And then you want to shield your bees from that north wind. So that's why you don't put them in the north, because that north wind comes in and that cold, it'll chill that brood and kill it. And then accessibility for you. You don't want your beehive to be in the back of a field where you know it's going to get muddy. Because, for example, when Hurricane Beryl came, you want to be able to make sure that your hive wasn't toppled over. You want to make sure that they're good. So accessibility, high spots, that's ideal. And then for people that have bees in the city environments, you want to make sure that regulations of your environment that you're compliant. Because moving a beehive ain't fun, trust me.
In a urban environment,
Yes.
what are the precautionary tips?
Yeah, so if you're in an urban environment, what I recommend, let's say your backyard is about this big, right? You don't necessarily want to put beehives back there because you're going to have to mow your grass. Mowers and any vibrations, weed eaters, you're going to quickly find out that they do not like that.
Because what's the response? They swarm up?
Oh, they're going to come out and sting you in large numbers. Even me, I don't even like running from it. And I'm in tip-top shape.
So how far away would you keep it from a fence line, a neighbor's fence line that mows their grass every week?
If you can feel the vibration, they're going to feel it. If you're far enough where you can just hear the noise, but not the vibration, because the vibration is what ticks them off. If you're far enough where you're not vibrating them, you're typically good. It's dependent on the vibration. For example, if you got a big old John Deere track, that's going to create more vibration versus a push mower. But it's just dependent on what tools are being used. If you see your neighbor using a push mower, a good range is about 10 feet. Let's say about 10 yards. You want it 10 yards from any vibration source.
Just conversation, children, that kind of noise, that doesn't affect them.
No, because the bees are right here and we're talking regular.
Pets, dogs.
Now dogs tend to be a little nosy. They like to sniff their nose right in that crack, not knowing. And they'll put their nose right there, smelling, and they're in for it. Once they find out, okay, that's dangerous. Try to steer clear. That's a rule of thumb. Anything that you can't talk to them about, help them to steer clear of the problem, because they could be your best friend or they could be a nuisance. It's what you make them be.
And what about having the hive in the tree, which I know you didn't, you suggest no because you can't really manage it.
So if you have a bee tree, also they're going to need more energy and more feed to simply build the comb out versus a nuke that already comes with 5 frames of comb. The nucleus colony is really the best way. There's the length strip where you got the hive box that everyone knows, and then you have the top bar set up where it doesn't have frames. They basically build out the frames themselves on little slats. So the first step is install your bees. Now the second step is to monitor queen release. And that's whenever she's in a cage or if she's in a nuke.
Who is they? The bees?
The bees.
The bees can release. I thought you said once she was in there.
So that clip that you get is not going to be that style. It's going to be a wooden box and it's going to have candy at the bottom, a sugar plug. And so the bees will constantly chew at that sugar plug where eventually she'll be released.
Oh, okay.
And so if you're doing it that way, you want to make sure that they have released her because she'll die in it. I've had queens where I wasn't able to come back so fast and she died in it. And now I have a whole colony that's in jeopardy because she never was released. And then you want to make sure you're checking for pests and diseases, for example, Varroa mites. And I quickly found out that's going to make them leave. I lost 60 of them just doing that. So minimum disturbance so they can reorient to where they are. And really it's just better to let them just do what they have to do. So an inspection checklist that you got to know what you're looking for whenever you go in there. You want to make sure that you're inspecting on a warm, sunny day. And then you want to smoke the hive, not suffocate them with the smoke. 1, 2, 3. Back away.
Also, what I had to learn was when I smoke, I'm thinking, okay, they're good. And I immediately take that box off. I'm doing it way too fast. So you got to slowly and gently open it up before they come at you.
Yes. So taking your time, I call it knocking on the door. You want to knock on the door of the beehive. So that means taking your nozzle, letting them know that you're at the beginning. You go to the front, 1, 2, 3. Then you go to the back side. Whenever you're cracking the lid, you just letting them be calm. And then after that, they're going to be calm. They're going to allow you to do what you have to do. Intermediately, just keep 1, 2 to keep them calm, keep them busy, and you're going to be able to do your inspection. And then you're going to inspection checklist. You're making sure that your queen is still viable. Anytime that you see, can you show them a picture of some brood, a brood frame? Anytime that your brood, meaning the baby bees, is looking spotty, where I call it shotgun pattern, where it's brood here and it's empty, and a couple, and then it's brood there and it's empty, that means your queen is getting too old. If you want a solid brood pattern, and she's going to show y'all what that looks like.
This is a scattered brood frame, and this is an example here of it's tight. That means she's good, she's viable.
Most people have problems finding the queen, but if you can't find the queen, you have to find evidence of the queen, which means making sure that you see the white egg, not the larvae, but the egg, because if it's the egg, she's been in there within 3 days. How you replace it is pinching. Now, I've had customers, because I do hive inspections with people, and I always let people kill their own queens. And so I had this one customer in particular, she literally started crying whenever it was time to pinch the queen. It's for the betterment of the hive. It's not an emotional attachment, because at the end of the day, that's what you have to do.
And this is a trivia question. Why would you pinch the hive? Why would you pinch the queen?
You want a young queen, because she's going to keep that hive at tip-top shape. Even I personally, in my operation of 200 hives, every single year I go through every one of my hives and I kill that queen in every single one.
The queen?
Yes, sir.
But you want to try to replace them every year?
Every year. That's what I do. Because I know if I have a 1-year-old queen every single year, my honey, but this is me making honey. This is my full-time job. Yeah. I need to make honey. So I have to make sure that every hive, if I have a young queen in every hive, I know that my pest numbers is going to go down. So I say it's ideal to replace her every 1 to 2 years. You have Carnolian bees. These are all honeybee types. Italian bees, I'll give y'all a rundown. Italian bees, the key points for them, they're going to make a quick brood buildup in the spring. Too much. They're going to make so many bees, it's not even funny. Their genetics. And so they make the most honey. Versus a Russian bee is the opposite. Whenever it's hot and in the summer, she is going to lay minimum eggs because they're Varroa resistant. So they naturally take brood breaks. Whenever, for example, I breed queens, I want my bees to naturally have that suppression ability. So what I'll do, I'll have a mother, the parent hive, which is an Italian queen to get the honey production. But all of my hives around her that are making the drones, because remember, the drones is what's inseminating. And so if the drones are Russians, but the mother is an Italian, all of a sudden you're going to make a hybrid, and you're going to have the qualities of both honey and the natural Varroa mite suppression. So drones are equally as important as the queen bee. They just don't live long after they do what they do. But that's where the inspections come in, knowing what your bees are doing. If you don't see no honey or no wet frames, meaning the nectar is coming in, or you don't see capped honey at the top, it's time to feed them. Dearth means the lack of nectar in the environment.
Right.
Yeah, so whenever all this turns brown, that's a dearth. And then you'll start to see bees rushing in there, robber bees. That means they're in a dearth because they have to steal versus being able to forage on their own.
What are they stealing?
Honey. So that really diminishes your population because it's fighting the whole time. So it's not a good situation. Just feed them and you won't have to worry about that. Another thing, and this is the more you have to get in there to know, you have to look for pests, meaning small hive beetles. A small hive beetle will collapse your hive so quickly.
How do you mitigate the problem?
So what I use for small hive beetles is Swifter, Duster, original, no, not the scented kind, just the ones in the green box, the sheep. Just put it with the design side up where you can see it, put it on that hive, and all of a sudden when those small hive beetles hide from the bees, they'll try to hide under that cloth or go on top of it, and the fibers of that sheet traps them where they can't leave. And so bees will start to learn, okay, once they get on this, they can't get off it, so they'll start driving it to it.
Can you just put those Swiffer sheets in to begin with
Yeah.
and just
That's what I
constantly change
recommend.
once a month, swap
Once a
them
month,
out?
changing it out.
So you're just putting them on the top,
Yeah.
inside. Does that have any effect on the honey?
No, because it's unscented, it's just fibers. So you want to get not the lavender scent. I know people, oh, it smells so good. But don't get it. Get the original, non-scented. Just put it on the hive and leave it alone. So over time, this is a pretty good box, but I want y'all to see that over time.
Is there bees in this?
Oh no, I wouldn't do that to y'all. But this is wax moth larvae right here. And so they make these cocoons. This has been their storage. And so whenever I have put this in here, this didn't have none of that. But wax moths will come, and what they do, they start to make these divots in your wood. See, look, watch this. See that? See how they'll start to chew that wood
Oh, yeah.
all around. And even on the frames, all this is wax moth gaffed. And so they'll start to compromise the integrity of the box. But whenever you're going in and you're breaking your hive box apart from that propolis, from you putting your hive tool in the crack of them, you'll start to chip away at these corners right here. Whenever you're breaking it apart, you'll start to eat away at this wood right here.
Yeah.
And so you want to make sure that the integrity of your box is still good, because whenever you start to put holes in it, that rainwater gets in, then the small hive beetles, more populous. So it's just not good. But if you do have holes in it, just use Gorilla Tape to cover it up. That's what I do, at least. And then a good example, you see how I can't even lift that up?
Mm-hmm.
That's propolis holding it in. See, that's what happened whenever it's propolis. The frame will break.
Then also, something else I want to point out when he is referring to integrity, sometimes situations will happen where the bees have built up their wax and this whole entire frame has fallen over. So now it's kind of just a mess in the frame because this whole area is gone. And if you don't get up on top of it, could cause many things. It could cause a mess in the box. When you go in to extract your honey, there's no honey here. They could even swarm because it's spacious or they lack space. So that's something to point out.
Yeah. Y'all come look. You see this worm right here?
Oh, yeah.
That's the wax moth larvae. That's what they look like. And that's what's making these grooves in these boxes. Yeah, so all that, you see how they can eventually compromise the integrity of that? And that's simply from just keeping it outdoors and not in use. But yeah, I'll fix that in a minute.
How do you clean this?
So what I would, for example, all this stuff, one, you have, and this is where your hive tools come in. You take your edge and just that's what you got to do. That's why it has that scraper edge. All of this wax that's right here, that's what the purpose of that is for.
You can't drop that in a box, bucket, hot water, and it just come off.
It won't come off. It's on there because it's in the wood. Oh, sorry.
So it doesn't matter the environment. The fact that you have the hive attracts these wax moths.
Right. You see how they burrow in and start the cocoon in there? You see that? That's why they're chewing at it, because they're basically making pupa in the wood. compromising the integrity of the hive. But this is part of beekeeping. These are the problems that you're having on a day-to-day basis. And so
you can still use this.
yes, yes. So because what happens once you clean it up, bees will then fill in those gaps with the propolis. And so just making sure that your frames are still intact. And then you will want to drive a nail back through there at the top to where it don't, every time you pull it up, you're not pulling it apart. And so the differences between this and this, you'll see that this has a plastic piece in the middle. Some beekeepers just use, you see how this has this bar at the top?
Yeah.
That's where you will put like a wax strip right there if you wanted a natural frame. And then they'll use that wax strip and they'll fill this in. But if you want to just get it done faster, you put this foundation in, you coat it with wax. I usually say between 2 to 3 layers of wax. Coat this with wax, and then they'll just build a cone on top. And this is a lot quicker for them to fill this in versus creating all that wax to fill in the gaps like this. And it'll all be full. But if you like comb honey, you have to do it this way versus this way because you can't press it out.
And how we save us some money when it comes to waxing those frames. I can get that for you. Yes, sir. Thank you. Yes, how we save us some money when it comes to waxing those frames. Once we extract our honey from our frames, we'll have a lot of wax left over. We'll take that wax and render it. It basically means clean it. Or we put it in a crock pot with a mesh to melt it down. And what's left over in that pot, you can go ahead and get you a paint roller and you dip it in there and wax your frames. And you want to do that a couple times, and there you're saving money, but you're again waxing your frames to where you're helping your bees. They're not working so hard, and then you know they want to stay because you got some good wax frames. You did it yourself.
And that old wax, to add to that, whenever your wax turns brown, you see how this is still light colored, but whenever it gets old, it turns like dirt brown. And the reason you will want to take that out, wax holds all the pathogens and diseases over the years. And so if you have that old brown wax, when you're chopping it, you end up compromising over time the health of your hive simply because that disease is harvested.
It's built up.
Yes, so you want to intermittently, maybe every 3 to 4 years, just replace the wax.
Can you give us a trivia question? I got some honey to give away.
What brood pattern? What is the optimal brood pattern that tells you the queen is healthy? What does that look like?
Can you say that again?
The honeycomb is full, it's tight. It is not a shotgun comb.
There you go.
What is an optimal day to inspect your bees on? What weather conditions?
Right.
Sunny, bright. No, the day. What are you looking for the weather to be like?
Oh, okay. Sunny, I would imagine.
Sunny out. Do you want gray clouds? You want a chance of rain?
No clouds, no rain.
And then whenever you're smoking the hive, what do you want to do first? Give them 3 puffs of smoke, let them know you're coming in. That's disrespect for anybody. You don't ever want to walk into anybody's house without knocking on the door. What are some ways to treat the small hive beetle? What can you put in the hive?
Original. Unscented.
Yes, the fiber one, not the mop one, the fiber one. And original, just like you said. And then, what are some things you want to look for to check your hive integrity?
Rats,
Like your frames coming apart?
any breaching of the
Exactly.
wood.
Exactly.
You've been learning some things so
You can
far?
always take it off and sand it down and repaint it. But whenever you start to see these joints will start to pull apart, have spaces, anything where you see bees not coming out the entrance or anything that's designed for them to come in and out of, that's a breach in the integrity of the hive.
So is there a point to painting?
Yes.
That, or is that
Yes, so whenever you paint your hive, you have to remember that the hive is made out of wood. And so the actual beehive is in the elements. So whenever you paint your hive, typically white because that reflects the sunlight off of it, you want to paint your hive, you're basically sealing the wood from the elements. The rain that it's going to be in, the snow, if you ever go start beekeeping in the north, painting and sealing the wood is making it last longer.
Mister, he has a question.
If you get a new hive, bees come onto your property, wouldn't you want to inspect it before you brought it on your property?
Yes, that's for sure. You for sure want to inspect it before you bring it on the property. But sometimes, especially whenever you get up in the scale, 10, 20, some people get comfortable. And they say, oh, they're going in and it looks healthy. With years, people get comfortable and they'll miss that step. And so that's whenever the problems happen. Basically how you stay on top of it.
Can you tell us again how to make sure the queen is right or your hive is right in case we don't spot the queen?
Yeah, so if you can't find the queen, you have to look for the eggs. But if you can't, don't feel bad about it. When is the time to add boxes? Do anybody know?
When it's full.
For example, you have two type of boxes. This is a honey box right here. But the one over there that's more taller, that's called a brood box. The brood box is taller because the queen is laying eggs in there and she needs more space for more babies, right? So in the middle, in every beehive, whether it's a natural tree, a top wall hive, or a langstroth hive, the bees are going to organize their hives the same way every time. On the outer edges, you're going to have honey boxes. You're going to have honey frames. That's going to be the resource frame. The third one on the back side, you'll see honey. On the inside, you'll see pollen. And so the reason they put it like that is because after you see that pollen frame, more times than not, it's going to be the brood. So remember, the pollen protein for the baby. So they put the pollen next to the baby so that it's easy to feed. And so then, whenever you're adding your new box, you want to make sure that you're using foundations. Make sure that they're waxed. Because if you don't wax them, you're going to build it all kind of wonky. And it's not even going to be on the frame, it's going to be attached. That's just going to make a whole lot of problems. They have those.
Here is an example of a cap frame. So the frame is full and capped of honey.
Okay.
That's what it would look like when you're getting ready to harvest it.
And this right here, Mr. Croft, this is an uncapping knife. Now, you can use a serrated knife, but really and truly, this right here, usually you would have to dig into it to go too deep with this kind of knife. But you're just going to gently take the very, very thin top layer of capping off. You're just going to go like this. Because it's serrated, it's work it back and forth. You don't have to put pressure really. And that's going to allow you to take the top layer off. This is really the best option. But this right here is a pick where you can put it, you can gently put these forks up underneath the white caps and pick it out. This one is probably,
Yes.
It'll allow you to pick it and pop it off. But the advantages of using this, if you have the time, you're not necessarily cutting as much honey off. It just pulls the top layer. You have more control with this versus this. But for the sake of speed and efficiency, I definitely recommend just a simple uncapping knife. To me, it's the best option.
And to me, I like this one because it makes less of a mess. Honey is going to make a mess in general, but this is good for me.
And so you're going to use your uncapping knife, and then let's say everyone knows what a honey extractor or a spinner looks like. And so, but if you don't have an extractor, you can go to your county bee club and rent an extractor. Or if you don't even want to do that, you can use your uncapping knife or a knife or your hive tool. And then on that foundation, if you're using that, you can completely scrape it clean. In a grape press, a wine press. Y'all know what a wine press, when you turn it and presses it down, you can completely scrape the honey off of it and put it in a wine press with a mesh bag lining. I had to learn the hard way to put the mesh bag lining, because if you don't, you're not going to get the wax out because you press it. And that's another way, if you don't want to buy and spend $300 to $500 on an extractor, how you could just buy one of those, line it with the mesh, and still get the same honey. So it's pros and cons to everything, every equipment. I really prefer the crush and strain method, but whenever you get to scale and you get more than 10, that becomes headaches because it's slow. So it just depends how many hives and where you at. And then you want to filter your honey. You want to get all the impurities and debris out. Sometimes you'll have bee legs in your honey. People that really love raw honey, they like the bee legs. I hate to say it, but I'm one of those people. If you allow air to get in your honey, it's going to ferment it and it's going to go rancid. But as long as it's in an airtight jar, the honey is going to last forever. They found honey in the ancient tombs of Egypt that was over 3,000 years old and it's still edible. It's the most important part. Making sure that your honey is capped. Because if you extract wet honey, the bees knew it was not ready for them to store it, because that's why they put the wax on top, they're storing it. But if it's not capped in the majority, because it's okay to have a few uncapped cells, then the water content of the honey is too hot. That's going to ferment your honey. So knowing when to pull it when it's in the majority caps.
What should your percentages be at, and what tool would you use to make sure that the honey is ready?
Yeah, so, and this is a little bit more advanced, which you can use to monitor, check your hive moisture, your honey moisture content. It's called a refractometer. And so you're looking for that to be between 18.1 or lower. And so more times than not, if you know that's in abundance here, I would recommend getting a box fan. Whenever you pull your honey off, you put a tarp down, you get a box fan, allow that wind to go through that box fan, and then that's going to dry out your honey. So if you leave it like that for about 1 to 5 days, depending on how wet it is, that is how you ensure, or that's how you could pull it down to that 18 to 16% for whenever it's ready to be stored.
So are you going to take them out? You're sitting on this now and put them on the tarp up this?
Oh no, you're going to leave it right in this box.
Yeah, but she said, are you leaving it up, standing up?
Yeah.
So it's,
Yes, so it can vent through. You can use a dehumidifier. I mean, I don't think I used the right word.
No.
But basically, if the environment is wet, it's going to pull moisture in. If the environment is dry, it's going to pull moisture out. So you want to create a dry environment, and that if your honey is too wet, and that'll get rid of it because it's going to adapt to the environment. And
so I had a question.
Mhm.
You said make sure it's capped, airtight jar. But so now the honey that they're putting in these little plastic jars,
yes,
containers,
yes.
with the little pop top. Should we be leaving those out now? Should those?
As long as you leave it closed. Yeah, that's fine. To just leave it on the counter. I don't recommend putting honey in the refrigerator because it'll crystallize it faster, and then it won't even flow anymore. But if you take pride in honey like I do, I got honey I don't never plan on opening. I plan on giving that to my grandchildren. Something to stress about if you can't get to your hive too much, if you've already ensured they're good, don't stress them. They're insects. God gave them the ability to take care of themselves. They've been here before, they've been here after. So, do not want to expect in bad weather. Do not want to be really fast. They're going to let you know. They're going to let you know. You don't want to swat at them while you're doing it, because I know that's, as a beginner, that could be hard to do, swatting at them. You don't want to over smoke the hive. You don't want to neglect the pest control with the swifter sheets and the Varroa mites. If it's honey in the brood box, my typical rule of thumb, everything above the excluder is mine, everything below is theirs. This is the queen excluder. This goes above the brood box. It separates them. And the queen can't go in between these holes. That keeps her from going into your honey. Anything above this is yours.
You mean as you're stacking them up?
Yes.
One box is a brood box.
Yes. So don't take all the honey. That's how you kill a hive. And then the last thing, do not forget to enjoy beekeeping. You want to have fun.
So the brood is always in the middle?
Yes. But for people that are just starting out, what I recommend is you could take a Sharpie and write 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that way you know 1 is right here. If 1 is say 3, you know you put 2 in a different spot. The bottom is always going to be the brood box. You want the queen always at the bottom, not the top. You're going to put your queen excluder on the brood box only. Then once you have your brood box and queen excluder on top of the queen, your brood, these are now honey frames. Because what's brood?
Brood is the larvae,
baby
the
bees.
baby bees.
So if the queen can't put the lay eggs because she's being excluded division, she can't get through this. So that means the worker bees can get through this.
They can put in the honey.
And
Because
they're
who's putting the honey up there?
they're
Okay.
only putting honey.
So when you say everything above, going back to the original concept, that means everything above this excluder.
Yes.
Excluder.
Above the excluder is honey.
So that means everything except for the first box.
So you can have it really like this as 2 brood boxes and then have your honey.
Okay,
That's
I
what
get
makes
it.
More honey, more bees equal more honey.
Okay.
But if you just want a moderate amount of honey like this, it doesn't matter which way. You can do all kind of configurations.
Mm-hmm.
That's the joys of beekeeping. You can do it whatever kind of way you want to. And then basically everything above is honey and everything below is for the bees. Because next we're going into the hive.
Oh, I did have a question.
Well,
The types of bees, the Italian, the European, the Italian, the
African.
African bees. Which ones did you say
The best is Italian.
best is Italian? The
well,
worst is Russian as far as honey goes.
if we're talking about in the regard of honey,
Production.
Italian is the best.
So in regard to what else?
Well, really and truly, if we're talking about in the regards of honey and not us, Africanized bees are really the best. Because that's why they thrive. Their Africanized bees make so much honey that it's not even funny. But they are so mean.
They're
On top
violent.
of that, so that's not even a good. That's not
Is that
even-
why people brought in Africanized bees? Started.
No.
I thought they brought
Africanized-
themselves in.
No, actually, Africanized bees are man-made.
Really?
And so what happened was in Brazil in the 90s, they were trying to adapt bees to their climate. You know how I said that I'll mix Russian bees with
Italian bees.
Italian? What they did, they brought African bees from Africa and mixed it with European bees, probably Russian. Russians are already mean, and African bees are mean too. But they tried to make the honey yield of the African bees, not African bees, and the European, the gentle temperament. They tried to calm them down with the gentle temperament, but they made a monster. Okay, so what's the first thing that we would want to do? Knock on the door. So, gonna knock on the door. 1, 2, 3. See how they go in? But you see how they came out before we did that? That's what you're trying to prevent. Yeah, come on in. I say, y'all are the suited ones. So, then you just pop the lid open. The key to doing this is moving gently as possible. You see how that made them go back under? You see that? So, the first glimpse, what I see, whenever you have bees on the lid, you want to make sure that the queen is not right here. So now that I know that she's not right there,
How do you know she's not right there?
because I
Look that quick?
yes, I have a trained eye, so I can see the queen very quick, and then just kind of move. You see that this substance right here? That's the propolis. See all right here? All that is propolis. See, whenever you're pulling your frames up, you want to pinch them like this, so that way you can put your 3 fingers behind here for support. Look like this. And this is capped honey. This is capped honey. See?
Yeah.
That's honey underneath. So all of that is really ready to harvest. And this,
So once it's capped, you're not going to fill that up anymore?
it's done. You see this bee right here?
Yeah.
That's a drone bee. You see how the eyes are bigger and it looks bigger
Yeah.
than the rest? That's a drone. That's a male.
Oh, okay.
All of these bees are worker
With the little
bees.
stripes on it.
These are worker bees. And so all of the other bees, except for that one bee, wherever it just went,
It's right there.
yeah, this is the only male that we've seen so far. All of these bees right here, female. Feel how heavy that is. One sec. I'm gonna hand it to you. See, this is a brood frame. You see that? All those. This is honey. See?
Yeah.
That's brood. You see the difference now?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's brood, and you see the baby eggs in there, the baby larvae. They look like a C.
I don't see what you. Oh, inside before
Yeah,
the cap?
inside.
Yeah.
See, this is Sean.
Oh, yeah.
So this is pollen. You see that pollen right there? The yellow right here. Look,
Yeah.
I'll peel it back so you can see.
Okay, yeah, I see that.
See, this is pollen, brood, and honey. So that's what you call a resource frame because it has all 3.
So what's wrong with this bee here? Is it dead?
No, this one, whenever we do the smoke, that means she's engorging herself
she's
with
taking
honey.
it in now.
That's what that's the reaction that it.
Okay. Oh yeah, I see this one.
You see? Yeah, I want you
So are
to.
they going to uncap it to get the honey so they can suck it out? Or?
I want you to feel how heavy that is. That's one frame worth of honey. And so I want to point something else out. This here is brood, worker brood. But you see this one cell right here?
That's puffed out?
That's poked out? That's a male. That's a drone brood. Whenever you get a drone brood frame, they're all going to be that poked out like a peanut. And this right here is a queen's cup, not a queen's cell. But just, you still want to treat it the same way and get rid of it.
So was it a queen bee being formed? Or?
No, they're just preparation, a practice, because it's...
Practice run
Yes,
they need to replace the queen?
Exactly. It's brood on... Oh, there's the queen. See her?
Oh, yeah. The orange one.
Right there. You seen her?
Yeah, I saw her.
Yes, sir. And so there's pollen right here in the brood. So that way they take the pollen and feed the babies. Okay. They don't want to work hard. They just want to work smart. And then you look, I want to show you. You see that black beetle?
Yeah, I see it.
That's a small hive beetle.
Yeah, I don't see which one you're talking about.
Right here. See that bug?
Oh, yeah, I see that.
That's a small hive beetle. So that's exactly what you want to do.
I think I got it.
Yep.
I got it on the glove anyway.
But because we know the queen is on this frame right here, I can't necessarily see her right now. We want to ensure the safety. Oh, there she is right in the middle. See?
I see her now, yeah.
We want to ensure her safety. So that's whenever you can clip her with that clip to keep her safe while you're moving around in the hive. Or once you've seen her, you have identified the honey, the brood, and you've identified exactly what you need to see. You've located the queen.
Well, had it.
Oh, there's two queens. That's a queen right there.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Is that another queen? Is that two queens?
About right there.
No, that's a drone.
That's a drone. This one.
I just
right
seen.
there.
Yeah, that's a queen. Oh, you have two queens in here. Wow, look, 1, 2. Oh my goodness, I've never seen that before. You see that? Yeah, one queen right here and one queen right here. Oh my. Zay, there's two queens living in one box. No. That's so rare.
There's the one queen. I see the one, and then I don't.